I'll never forget the sound of my mother's knock on my office door that Tuesday afternoon. 3 sharp raps. Confident. Final. I was on a Zoom call with a client in Boston, laptop balanced on my knee, wearing my favorite navy blazer over an old college t-shirt because that's how we all survived the pandemic work-from-home era, right? Professional on top, chaos underneath. The sunlight was streaming through the window I'd personally installed last spring. The one that overlooked the garden I'd helped her plant 15 years ago when Dad was still alive. Mary, we need to talk, Mom said, opening the door without waiting for an answer. I muted myself quickly. Mom, I'm working. Can it wait 20 minutes? She stood there in the doorway of what used to be Dad's study, what became my office 3 years ago when I moved back home to help with expenses after she broke her hip. She was wearing that floral blouse I'd bought her for Mother's Day, and somehow that detail would haunt me later. No, she said simply. It can't. I saw my client's confused face on the screen, saw my own reflection in the little square at the corner looking tired, looking 33 going on 50. I smiled apologetically at the camera and said I needed to reschedule. My voice steady even though something in my chest had started to tighten when I closed the laptop. Mom was still standing there, but she wasn't alone anymore. My brother Jake was behind her, 28 years old, 6 feet of smirking confidence in a graphic tee that said, "Hustle hard," even though he'd never held a job longer than 4 months. His hands were in his pockets. He wouldn't look directly at me. "Jake's moving into this room," Mom announced, like she was telling me we were having chicken for dinner. I laughed. Actually laughed, because surely this was a joke. "What? He needs an office space for his new business venture," she continued, and I noticed she'd rehearsed this. Her hands were clasped in front of her, fingers twisted together the way they got when she was nervous but determined. "You can work in the basement. There's plenty of room down there." The basement. The cold, half-finished basement with the cement floor and the washing machine that groaned like it was dying every spin cycle. The basement that flooded every spring. The basement where we stored Christmas decorations in moldy boxes and where I'd seen a mouse just last week. "Mom," I said slowly, standing up from Dad's old leather chair. The one I'd spent $200 reholstering last year. "This is my office. I work here. Actual work. I have clients, deadlines, conference calls, and Jake has a business plan." She interrupted, and there it was, that edge in her voice that meant the decision was already made. "He's starting a consulting company. He needs a professional space." Jake finally met my eyes then, and what I saw there wasn't guilt or apology. It was triumph. "You can work anywhere, sis," he said, shrugging like we were discussing who got the last slice of pizza. "It's just a laptop, right? The basement's fine. It's quieter down there anyway." Something hot and sharp twisted in my stomach. "I pay half the mortgage on this house, Jake." Mom's face tightened. "And I'm grateful for that, Mary. You know I am. But Jake is finally getting his life together, and he needs our support. He needs the space. You've always been so independent, so capable, you'll figure it out." There it was. The thing that had been true my whole life, wrapped up in words that sounded like a compliment but felt like a punishment. I was capable, so I didn't need help. I was independent, so I didn't deserve consideration. I figured things out, so everyone assumed I always would, no matter what they took from me. "This is insane," I whispered. "Don't be dramatic," Mom said, and that phrase, God, that phrase I'd heard 1,000 times growing up whenever I expressed an emotion she didn't want to deal with. "It's just a room." But it wasn't just a room. It was the space where I'd built my freelance marketing business from nothing, where I'd cried over lost clients and celebrated landed contracts, where I'd worked 70-hour weeks to keep us afloat when Mom's medical bills piled up and Jake was finding himself in Colorado for 6 months. It was the room where Dad used to read to me when I was little, where his books still lined the shelves, where his reading glasses sat in a dish on the windowsill because I couldn't bear to put them away. It was mine. The only thing in this house that was truly mine. "When?" I asked, my voice sounding strange and distant. "This weekend," Jake said, and he was already looking at the walls, probably planning where to hang his motivational posters. "I'm having some furniture delivered Saturday. Gonna get a standing desk, One of those ring lights for video calls. Really make it professional, you know? I looked at my mother. Really looked at her. She was 62 and looked older. The years of working as a teacher, of raising 2 kids alone after dad died, carved into the lines around her eyes. She'd always favored Jake. I'd known that since I was 7 years old and he was 2. When she'd laugh at his antics and sigh at my report cards like straight A's were just expected. Nothing special, but this felt different. This felt like erasure. You're really doing this? I said. It wasn't a question. Mom reached out like she was going to touch my arm, then thought better of it. Honey, you have to understand. Jake needs this chance. He struggled so much, and finally, he's motivated. We have to encourage that. You've always been the strong one. You don't need coddling. Strong. I was so tired of being strong. Fine, I said. Mom blinked. Fine? Yeah, fine. I'll move my stuff out. I kept my voice flat, emotionless. I'd learned a long time ago that showing hurt only made things worse, made me the difficult one, the dramatic one. Jake grinned. See? Mary gets it. We're all family here. It's cool, right, sis? I didn't answer him. I was already unplugging my laptop, wrapping the cord methodically. The way Dad taught me when I was 10. Organized, efficient, capable Mary, always figuring it out. I'll need until Friday to get everything moved, I said. Of course, Mom said, relief flooding her face. Thank you for being so understanding. This is what family does. We support each other. I almost laughed at that. Almost. Thursday night, I worked until a.m. in my office for the last time. I'd spent 3 days quietly, methodically moving my things to the basement. My desk, my filing cabinets, my motivational sticky notes that said things like "you've got this" and "keep going" that now felt like lies I'd told myself. The basement was exactly as bad as I remembered. Damp, cold. The single bulb hanging from the ceiling flickered. There was one outlet, and I'd need an extension cord to reach my desk. The cement floor felt like ice through my socks, but I set it up anyway. I was good at making things work. Jake moved in Saturday morning with furniture that cost more than I made in 2 months. And I heard Mom helping him arrange everything. Her voice bright and encouraging in a way I couldn't remember her ever being with me. This looks so professional, honey. She cooed. Your clients are going to be so impressed. What clients? I wanted to shout up the stairs. What business plan? He told me last week over dinner that his consulting company was still just an idea, that he was going to figure out his niche. Maybe something with cryptocurrency or AI or whatever was trending. But I didn't shout. I just sat at my basement desk in the cold and the damp and opened my laptop. Sunday evening. As I was heating up leftover pasta in the kitchen, Jake came downstairs wearing noise-canceling headphones even though they weren't playing anything. He grabbed a beer from the fridge and finally noticed me standing there. Basement working out okay? He asked, not quite meeting my eyes. It's fine. I lied. Cool. He twisted the cap off his beer. Hey, so Mom wanted me to mention, could you maybe keep it down during the day? Like, when you're on calls. The sound carries up through the vents and it's kind of distracting. I stared at him. You want me to be quiet while I'm working so you're not distracted in my old office? He had the audacity to look annoyed. I mean, I'm trying to get this business off the ground. I need to be able to focus. You get it. Something crystallized in that moment. Something hard and clear and cold. Sure, I said. I get it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my childhood bedroom, the one room they hadn't tried to take from me yet, and stared at the glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling that Dad had helped me put up when I was 9. He'd made constellations, taught me their names. Orion, Cassiopeia, Ursa Major. You're going to do amazing things, Mary Bear, he used to tell me. You've got your mama's heart and your daddy's stubborn streak. Nothing's going to stop you. But he was wrong. I had been stopped. By my own mother. By my own family. I thought about all the things I'd sacrificed to be here. The job offer in Seattle I'd turned down because Mom needed me after her hip surgery. The relationship I'd ended because moving to Philadelphia meant leaving her alone. The years of eating ramen and skipping girls' nights to funnel money into this house, this family, These people who saw my strength as permission to take more. Tm. I opened my laptop and started making calls. Not literally calls, not at that hour, but emails, messages. I reached out to everyone I knew. Former colleagues, college friends who'd moved away, that mentor from my first job who'd always said I was wasting my talent. By sunrise Monday morning, I had 3 solid leads on places to stay. By noon, I had a friend with a condo in downtown Philadelphia who was looking for a roommate. By Tuesday, I'd signed a lease. I didn't tell anyone. Wednesday, I worked from the basement like normal. Took my calls quietly. Answered Mom's questions about dinner plans. Smiled when Jake came home with takeout and didn't offer me any. Thursday, I started packing. Not obviously, just the important things. My dad's books. The photos from my desk. My backup hard drives with 7 years of work. My grandmother's quilt. The jewelry box Dad had given me for my 16th birthday. I packed them in boxes labeled storage and winter clothes, and carried them to my car in the middle of the night when everyone was sleeping. Friday was my last full day. Though they didn't know it yet, I worked until p.m. Finished every single project I had in progress. Sent all my deliverables early. I called each of my clients personally and told them I was changing my business structure, updating my address, but nothing would change for them. Service as usual. Then I did something I'd been planning all week. I went through the house finances, every bill, every account, every automatic payment, and I removed myself from all of them. The mortgage I'd been paying half of. I set up a final payment for my share through the end of the month. Then removed my account, the utilities I'd put in my name because Mom's credit was shot. I transferred them back to her, effective in 2 weeks. The streaming services, the Wi-Fi upgrade, the landscaping service, the grocery delivery subscription, all of it. Cancelled or transferred. I even logged into Jake's car insurance account, the one I'd been paying for 3 years because he was between jobs, and removed my payment method. He'd get a cancellation notice in about 10 days. Then I sat down and wrote a letter. Not an email, a real letter in pen on paper, the way Dad used to write notes to Mom. Mom and Jake, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. Not far, just 40 minutes away in the city, but gone from this house. From this situation. From being the person you take from without ever thinking about what it costs me. I need you to understand something. I didn't leave because of the office. I left because of what the office represented. Mom, I moved back here 3 years ago because you needed me. You were recovering from surgery, overwhelmed by bills, scared and alone. I put my entire life on hold. I turned down my dream job. I ended a relationship with someone I loved. I gave up my apartment, my independence, my plans for the future. I did it gladly. I did it because you're my mother and I love you. I did it because that's what Dad would have wanted. But somewhere along the way, my sacrifice became expected. My help became invisible. My strength became a reason to ask for more instead of a reason to give back. You gave my office to Jake, not just any room, but the one space I'd carved out for myself in this house because you thought I'd handle it. Because I always handle it. Because I'm capable and independent and I figure things out. You're right. I do figure things out. I figured out that I was drowning in a basement while funding a life that took me for granted. Jake, you're 28 years old. I love you, but I can't enable you anymore. The car insurance you'll get a notice about? I've been paying it for 3 years. The phone bill, the streaming services, the Spotify premium account, all me. I've been subsidizing your finding yourself journey while working 70 hours a week and being told to keep it down because I'm distracting you, Mom. The mortgage payment will clear this month, but after that, you'll need to figure it out. The utilities are being transferred back to your name. The house maintenance fund I've been contributing to monthly, that ends now. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this because I've finally realized that love without boundaries isn't love, it's self-destruction. Maybe this will be the wake-up call. Jake needs to actually build that business instead of just having an office for it. Maybe this will help you see that asking your daughter to sacrifice everything while giving your son everything isn't motherhood, it's favoritism. Or maybe you'll both just be angry at me. Maybe I'll be the villain in this story. I can live with that. What I can't live with anymore is being invisible in my own life. I'll always be your daughter, Mom. I'll always be Jake's sister. But I won't always be available. I won't always say yes. I won't always sacrifice myself on the altar of family obligation while getting nothing but more demands in return. My new number is at the bottom of this page. Use it for emergencies only. And before you call something an emergency, ask yourself, would this be an emergency if Mary wasn't around to fix it? If the answer is no, then it's not an emergency. I love you both. I hope someday you'll understand. Margie left the letter on the kitchen table, propped against the fruit bowl, where I knew they'd see it at breakfast. Then I walked through the house one last time. I stood in Dad's old office, Jake's office now, and looked at the window I'd installed, the shelves I'd organized, the space I'd loved. I'm sorry, Dad, I whispered to the empty room, but I think you'd understand. I left at AM Saturday morning, while they were both still sleeping. I didn't slam any doors. I didn't take anything that wasn't mine. I just loaded the last box into my car, took one final look at the house where I'd grown up, where Dad had taught me to be strong, and I drove away. The sun was just starting to rise over Philadelphia when I pulled up to my new place. A modest one-bedroom condo on the 8th floor with huge windows and exposed brick and absolutely no memories of being taken for granted. I carried my boxes inside, made a cup of coffee in my new kitchen, and sat on the floor in my empty living room watching the city wake up. My phone was already buzzing. I didn't look at it. Drop your city in the comments, let's see how far this story travels. The call started at 7:32 a.m. I know the exact time because I was standing at my new window, still in the same clothes I'd left in, watching joggers in the park below, and my phone started vibrating on the kitchen counter. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. I didn't move. Bym. There were 14 missed calls. By M32, the texts started coming in waves. Mom, 7:47 a.m. Mary, where are you? Mom, 7:51 a.m. This isn't funny. Mom, 7:53 a.m. Call me right now. Jake, 8:02 a.m. Yo, seriously, what the hell? Jake, 8:15 a.m. You really left? Jake, 8:33 a.m. Mom is freaking out. Mom, 8:44 a.m. Mary Elizabeth, I am calling the police. Mom, 8:46 a.m. Never mind, I read your letter. Mom, 8:47 a.m. How could you do this to us? I turned my phone face down and went to unpack. The thing about finally setting boundaries is that it feels simultaneously like freedom and like you've committed an unforgivable crime. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach clenched with guilt. That old familiar feeling of being the bad guy for having needs, for taking up space, for saying no. But I kept unpacking. I hung Dad's pictures on my new walls. I arranged his books on the shelf by the window. I set up my real office in the second bedroom, the one with the morning light and the door that locked and absolutely no washing machines groaning in the background. By noon, the messages had evolved. Mom, 11:23 a.m. We need to talk about this like adults. 11:47 a.m. The car insurance just sent me a cancellation notice. This is messed up. Mom, 12:04 p.m. The mortgage payment didn't go through. Mom, 12:05 p.m. Mary, answer your phone. Mom, 12:06 p.m. I don't understand why you're being so cruel. That one almost got me. Cruel. I was being cruel by no longer funding their lives. I was being cruel by removing myself from a situation that was crushing me. I made myself lunch, unpacked my kitchen boxes, organized my bathroom. My phone kept buzzing like an angry wasp trapped in a jar. At p.m., I finally listened to one of the voicemails. Just one. It was Mom, her voice shaking. Mary, I don't understand what happened. We had an argument about an office and you just leave? You abandon your family? After everything we've been through? After your father? How could you? Jake is beside himself. I'm beside myself. This is so selfish. So incredibly selfish. Call me back. We'll work this out. Just come home. Come home. Like I was a teenager who'd run away, not a 33-year-old woman who'd finally stopped setting herself on fire to keep other people warm. I deleted the voicemail. I didn't listen to the other 47. Sunday morning, I woke up in my new bedroom with sunlight streaming through curtains I'd hung myself, and for the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe until I checked my email. There were 12 messages from Mom's email address. The subject lines escalated. "We need to talk. This is urgent about the house financial emergency. Please, Mary." I deleted them without reading them. Then I blocked the email address. My phone rang again. "Mom." I let it go to voicemail. 3 minutes later, Jake called. Voicemail. 5 minutes after that, my Aunt Carol called Mom's sister, who I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. I answered that one, curious. "Mary? Oh, thank God. Your mother is worried sick." And Carol, I interrupted, my voice calm. "Did Mom ask you to call me?" A pause. "Well, yes, but I'm fine. I'm safe. I'm not in danger. I've moved out and I'm starting my own life. That's all you need to know." I hung up before she could respond. The flying monkeys were being deployed. Soon it would be cousins, family, friends, maybe even neighbors. The whole family machinery grinding into gear to make me feel guilty, to pull me back, to restore the natural order where Mary sacrifices and everyone else benefits. Monday morning, I started work in my new office. My first client call of the day. I was professional, focused, absolutely not distracted by the chaos I'd left behind. The natural light from my window was incredible. The silence was beautiful. No one told me to keep it down. ATM. I got a text from an unknown number. "Hi, Mary. This is Patricia from Henderson and Associates. Your mother came into our office this morning asking about eviction procedures. I thought you should know. Call me if you need anything." Patricia, Dad's old lawyer, the one who'd helped with his will, who'd given me her card at the funeral and told me to reach out if I ever needed anything. So Mom was already looking into evicting Jake. Presumably, now that I wasn't there to pay half the mortgage. Or maybe she was trying to scare me, to show me how serious the consequences of my actions were. I sent Patricia a simple reply. "Thank you for letting me know. I'm not involved in her housing situation anymore." By Monday afternoon, the text had changed tone. "Mom too. 15 p.m. Mary. I think we got off on the wrong foot here. Mem too. 17 p.m. Maybe I didn't handle the office situation well. Mem too. 19 p.m. Can we please just talk? Jake too. 45 p.m. Look, I get that you're magic too. 46 p.m. But you can't just leave us hanging like this. Jake too. 48 p.m. The house stuff, the bills, we need to figure this out. Mom 3:30 p.m. I'm willing to admit I made mistakes. Mom 3:31 p.m. But this is extreme. Mary. Mom 3:32 p.m. Your father would be so disappointed. That last one made my hands shake. Invoking Dad, trying to weaponize his memory against me. I had to put my phone down and walk away. When I came back 10 minutes later, there were more. Mom 3:41 p.m. I didn't mean that. Mem 3:42 p.m. Please call Mem 3:43 p.m. We can't afford this without you. There it was. The truth, finally. They couldn't afford it without me. Not the house. Not the lifestyle. Not the comfortable existence where Mom retired early and Jake pursued his dreams and nobody had to worry because Mary was handling it. I texted back for the first time since leaving. "You'll figure it out. You're both very capable." I used her own words, and I won't lie, it felt good. The response was immediate. "Mom, that's not fair. Me. Neither was the basement." I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and went back to work. Tuesday morning, I woke up to an email from my bank. Someone had tried to add themselves as an authorized user on my account. The request was denied because it required in-person verification. But the attempt had been made from Mom's email address. She tried to access my bank account. I sat there in my pajamas, coffee getting cold in my hand, staring at the email notification. The woman who'd raised me, who'd taught me to share, to be kind, to put family first, she'd literally tried to access my money without my permission. I called the bank immediately and added extra security measures. Password changes, security questions, a note on my account that I was the only authorized person, period. Then I called Patricia, Dad's lawyer. "I need to know what my legal obligations are. I told her. To the house, to my mother, to any financial entanglements. We talked for an hour. She pulled up all the documentation. The mortgage was in Mom's name, only I'd just been making payments. The utilities I'd transferred back were legally hers anyway. I had no obligation to continue supporting anyone. You're in the clear legally, Patricia said. But Mary, are you okay? Your mom seemed pretty desperate yesterday. I'm better than I've been in 3 years, I said, and meant it. That afternoon, Jake showed up at my building. I was coming back from the grocery store when I saw him in the lobby, arguing with the doorman. My stomach dropped. Sir, I've told you, if she's not answering, I can't let you up, the doorman was saying firmly. She's my sister, man. This is ridiculous. Just tell her I'm here. Jake's voice was strained, frustrated. I could have ducked back outside. I could have avoided the confrontation entirely. Instead, I walked right up to them. It's okay, Marcus, I told the doorman. I'll handle this. Jake spun around, relief flooding his face. Mary, Jesus, finally. You can't just ignore us like this. I can, actually, I said calmly. But since you're here, we can talk. In the coffee shop across the street. Not in my building. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. We sat in a corner booth of the cafe, and I ordered tea I didn't drink while Jake fidgeted with a sugar packet, shredding it nervously. This is insane, Mary, he started. You just left. No warning. No discussion, you mean, besides the weeks of watching you take over my office? The months of paying your bills while you figured things out? That kind of warning? That's different. How? He opened his mouth, closed it. I'm your brother. Exactly. You're my brother, Jake. Not my dependent. Not my responsibility. My brother. But Mom needs to learn that her decisions have consequences. She chose to give you my office. She chose to dismiss my needs. She chose to value your comfort over my basic dignity. Those were her choices. She's our mom, Jake said, and there was something in his voice, desperation, maybe even the first hint of real understanding. She's getting older. She can't handle all this alone. Then help her, I said simply. Get a real job. Pay your own car insurance. Contribute to the household you live in. Be a son instead of another bill she can't afford. It's not that easy. It's exactly that easy, Jake. It's just not that comfortable. I leaned forward. Do you know what I've been doing for the past 3 years? I've been working 70-80 hours a week. I've been paying for your car insurance, your phone, your streaming services. I've been covering half a mortgage while you had my office to play entrepreneur. I've been eating ramen for dinners so Mom could have her medications. And not once did either of you say thank you. Not once did you ask if I was okay. His face had gone pale. I didn't know it was that bad, because you didn't want to know. It was easier not to look too closely at who was really keeping everything afloat. We sat in silence for a moment. The coffee shop hummed around us, the hiss of the espresso machine, conversations at other tables, normal people living normal lives where family wasn't a slow drowning. So what now? Jake finally asked. You're just done with us? I'm done being used, I corrected. I'm not done being your sister, but the terms have changed. I'm not your safety net anymore. I'm not Mom's retirement plan. I'm just Mary, a person with my own life, my own needs, my own limits. Mom's really struggling, he said quietly. The mortgage payment she missed, they're already sending letters. And the car insurance thing, I didn't realize you were paying it. I got a notice that my coverage lapsed. I had a job interview I couldn't get to because I was scared to drive without insurance. Something flickered in my chest, old habits, old instincts. The urge to fix it, to pull out my credit card, to make it all okay. I took a breath and let it pass. You'll figure it out, I said, using Mom's words, using the phrase I'd heard my whole life whenever I faced a challenge. You're very capable when you need to be. Jake's eyes met mine, and I saw at the moment of recognition, the realization that I was using their own logic against them, that I was holding up a mirror. This is revenge, isn't it? He said. For the office, no, I said honestly. It's self-preservation. There's a difference. He left a few minutes later, shoulders slumped, looking more defeated than I'd ever seen him. I felt bad. Of course I felt bad, but I also felt something else, something lighter, clearer. I felt free. Wednesday, I got a text from Mom's neighbor Helen. Your mother is asking everyone on the street for recommendations for roommates or renters. Thought you should know she's that desperate. So it had come to that. Mom was going to take in a stranger to help with bills rather than admit she'd taken me for granted. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated. Mostly, I just felt sad. Thursday morning, my doorbell rang at 6 a.m. I stumbled to the intercom in my pajamas, confused and alarmed. I am on a Thursday? Mary? It's me. Please, I need to talk to you. Mom's voice, thin and strained through the intercom. I stood there for a long moment, my finger hovering over the button that would let her up. Every instinct I had screamed at me to help her, to let her in, to make it better. Instead, I pressed the button to talk. It's a.m., Mom. I know. I couldn't sleep. I've been driving around since 4. I need to see you. Please, Mary. We can talk. I said slowly. At a.m., at the coffee shop across the street. Not before. Silence on the other end. Then? Okay. A.m. The coffee shop. I went back to bed but didn't sleep. I showered, dressed carefully, armor in the form of a good blazer and my favorite jeans. I did my makeup like I was going into battle, because maybe I was. At 8:55 a.m., I walked across the street to the cafe. Mom was already there, hunched over a cup of coffee at the same booth where I'd sat with Jake 2 days before. She looked terrible. Her hair wasn't combed properly. She was wearing Dad's old cardigan, the one she only wore when she was really upset. Her eyes were red. I slid into the booth across from her, ordered my own coffee, waited. You look good, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Your new place must be nice. It is. I tried to call so many times. I know. Why didn't you answer? Her voice cracked. Why couldn't we just talk about this? Because there was nothing to talk about, Mom. You made your decision. I made mine. She flinched like I'd hit her. It was just an office, Mary. No. I said firmly. It wasn't just an office. It was the last straw. It was the final proof that no matter what I sacrificed, no matter how much I gave up, it would never be enough. You would always prioritize Jake. You would always expect me to handle it. That's not true, Mom. I cut her off gently. It is true. It's always been true. And I think we both know it. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm going to lose the house. There it was. The real reason she was here. Then sell it. I said. She looked at me like I'd suggested she set it on fire. That's our home. Your father's home. All our memories are in here. I tapped my chest. Not in a building. Dad wouldn't want you drowning trying to keep a house you can't afford. But Jake is 28 years old. He can get an apartment. He can get a job. He can join the real world. He's trying. No, Mom. He's pretending. He's playing at entrepreneurship in my office while avoiding any actual responsibility. And you're enabling it. You've always enabled it. She was crying openly now. Not even trying to hide it. Other patrons were starting to glance over. I felt like the worst daughter in the world. But I didn't back down. I can't do this anymore, she whispered. I can't handle everything alone. You're not alone. You have Jake. Make him step up. Make him be the adult he's supposed to be. It's not the same. You're the one who knows how to handle things because I had to. I interrupted. Because you made me responsible for everything from the time I was a teenager. Because every time Jake failed, I had to pick up the pieces. Do you remember when he wrecked his first car and you asked me to cover his insurance deductible? I was 19, Mom. I was working 2 jobs to get through community college. I gave you my whole paycheck from one of those jobs. Did you ever pay me back? She looked down at her coffee. Or when Jake dropped out of college after 1 semester and you needed help covering the student loan payments he'd defaulted on. I was 23. I had just gotten my first real job. I was trying to save for my own place. I paid those loans for 2 years, Mom. 2 years? I didn't know you were still upset about that. I'm not upset about the money, I said, and my voice was shaking now. I'm upset that you never saw it. You never acknowledged it. Every sacrifice I made became invisible the moment it was done. And every failure Jake had became my responsibility to fix. I just wanted you both to be okay, but you only worried about Jake. You only protected Jake. I had to protect myself because you were too busy making sure your son didn't face consequences. The words hung in the air between us, sharp and true and painful, Mom wiped her eyes with a napkin, her hands trembling. I didn't mean for it to be that way. He needed more help. He always struggled more. And you were always so strong, so independent. I thought you didn't need me. Everyone needs their mother, I said quietly. Even strong daughters, especially strong daughters. Because we're the ones who've learned we can't ask for help. We sat there for a long moment, the morning rush building. Around us, people ordering their lattes and their breakfast sandwiches, living their uncomplicated lives. I don't know how to fix this, Mom finally said. The house, the bills, Jake. I don't know what to do. Here's what you do, I said, my voice gentle but firm. You sit down with Jake and you tell him he has 30 days to get a job, any job, or he moves out. You list the house for sale. You find a smaller place you can actually afford. You stop trying to maintain a lifestyle you can't sustain. You make hard choices. You know, all the things you've expected me to do my entire adult life. But no buts, Mom. This is what has to happen. And I'm not coming back to save you from it. I'm not paying your mortgage. I'm not covering Jake's expenses. I'm not sacrificing myself anymore. She looked at me with something like fear in her eyes. So you're just abandoning us? I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. It doesn't feel different, she said bitterly. I know, I replied, because you've never had to respect my boundaries before. But you're going to learn. I stood up, leaving my coffee barely touched. I love you, Mom. I really do. But I love myself too now. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I walked out of the cafe while she was still sitting there, tears streaming down her face, looking small and lost and older than I'd ever seen her. My phone buzzed before I even made it back across the street. Mom, please don't do this, Mom. We're family, Mom. Family doesn't give up on each other. Type back slowly, deliberately. You gave up on me when you chose his comfort over my dignity. I'm not giving up on you. I'm just teaching you that I matter too. I didn't hear from her for 3 days after that. Friday afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered it. Is this Mary Morrison? A professional voice, female, efficient. Yes, this is Karen Chen from First National Bank. I'm calling about the mortgage on 2847 Oakwood Drive. Your mother listed you as a co-borrower. I'm not a co-borrower, I interrupted. The mortgage is in her name only. I just made payments. A pause. Let me check the documentation. You're right. I apologize. Your mother indicated you were on the loan, but the records show otherwise. I'll make a note in our file. After I hung up, I sat there staring at my phone. Mom had tried to tell the bank I was legally responsible for the mortgage. She'd lied, or misrepresented, or I didn't even know what to call it. Desperation, maybe, or manipulation so ingrained she didn't even recognize it as manipulation anymore. I called Patricia again. Is there any way she can make me legally responsible for her debts? I asked. Co-sign me without my knowledge, anything like that? Not without your signature and presence, Patricia assured me. But I'd recommend pulling your credit report just to be safe. And Mary? Consider that she might need help beyond what you can provide. Financial counseling, maybe even therapy. This level of enmeshment isn't healthy for anyone. That night, I pulled my credit report. Everything was clear. No new accounts. No unauthorized inquiries beyond the one from the bank that Mom had apparently contacted. I was safe. Legally, financially, physically safe in my new apartment with my locked door and my boundaries and my life that was finally mine. So why did I feel like I was the one who'd done something wrong? Saturday morning, Jake texted me. Jake 10:23 a.m. Got a job. Jake 10:24 a.m. Starts Monday. Retail management. Not glamorous, but it's something. Jake 10:26 a.m. Mom's putting the house up for sale next week. Jake 10:28 a.m. She cries a lot. Jake 10:30 a.m. I never realized how much you were doing. Jake 10:31 a.m. I'm sorry. You stared at those two words for a long time. I'm sorry. How many times had I wanted to hear that? How many years had I waited for acknowledgement, for recognition, for someone in my family to see what I'd sacrificed? And now that I had it, it didn't feel like victory. It just felt sad. Emmy, I'm proud of you for getting a job. Really, Jake. That's it. That's all you're going to say? Me? What else do you want me to say? Jake, I don't know. That you forgive us? That you'll help Mom find a new place? That we can be a family again? Me? We're still a family, Jake. Just a different kind of family. One with boundaries. Jake. Boundaries feel a lot like walls, me. Only if you're used to having none. He didn't respond after that. Sunday, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to the museum. Alone. I wandered through the modern art section, stood in front of a painting of a woman walking away from a burning house, and I cried right there in the middle of the gallery. A security guard approached me gently. "You okay, miss?" "Yeah," I said, wiping my eyes. "I think I finally am." Monday was the 2-week mark since I'd left. My phone had gotten quieter. The desperate texts had slowed to a trickle. Mom called once a day now instead of 20 times. Jake texted occasionally with updates he was working, saving money, looking at apartments. I had started to feel like maybe, possibly, I could breathe without guilt crushing my chest. Then Tuesday afternoon, my doorbell rang. I checked the video intercom and my heart stopped. It was Dad's sister. Aunt Linda, Dad's sister who lived in Oregon, who I hadn't seen since his funeral 4 years ago. I buzzed her up. Confused and suddenly anxious, she stood in my doorway wearing a soft smile and carrying a bag from the bakery down the street. "I brought almond croissants," she said. "Your dad told me they were your favorite." I let her in, too stunned to do anything else. We sat in my living room, and she looked around with approval. "This is a great place, Mary. Really great." "Aunt Linda, what are you doing here?" "Your mom called me," she said simply. "She told me what happened. Her version anyway. I wanted to hear yours, so I told her everything. The office, the basement, the bills, the years of sacrifice, the breaking point. I told her about the mortgage I'd been paying and the car insurance and the student loans and the life I'd put on hold. I told her about feeling invisible. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached over and took my hand. "Your dad saw it," she said softly. "Did you know that?" "What?" "The way your mom favored Jake. The way she leaned on you for everything. He and I talked about it a lot, especially toward the end. He was worried about what would happen after he was gone. He knew your mom would expect you to fill his shoes, to be the responsible one, to hold everything together." My eyes filled with tears. "He never said anything to me. He didn't want to burden you with it. He hoped your mom would figure it out on her own. But he made me promise something." She squeezed my hand. "He made me promise that if things ever got bad, if I ever saw you drowning, I'd remind you that you matter. That your life matters. That you're not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm." He said that. My voice cracked. Those exact words. Your dad had a way with a metaphor. She smiled, sad and loving. "He'd be proud of you, Mary, for leaving, for setting boundaries, for choosing yourself." "It doesn't feel good," I whispered. "It feels like I've broken everything." "You haven't broken anything," Aunt Linda said firmly. "You've just stopped holding broken things together with your bare hands. There's a difference." We talked for 2 hours. She told me stories about Dad I'd never heard, about his own struggles with boundaries, about how he'd learned the hard way that loving someone doesn't mean letting them take advantage of you. Before she left, she hugged me tight. "Your mom will either figure it out or she won't," she said. "Jake will either grow up or he won't. But either way, you've done your part. You're allowed to live now." 3 weeks after I left, I got a text from an unknown number. "This is Helen, your mom's neighbor. The for sale sign went up today. Your mom's been packing. Thought you'd want to know she's actually doing it." I sat with that information for a while. Mom was selling the house. The house where Dad had taught me to ride a bike, where we'd had Sunday dinners, where I'd grown up, and I felt okay, sad, but okay. That evening Mom called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, baby." Her voice was different, quieter, less demanding. "I'm not calling to ask for anything. I just wanted you to know. The house sold. There were 3 offers. We accepted one today." "That's good, Mom. That's really good. I found a 2-bedroom condo near Jake's new job so we can share one car for a while. It's smaller, a lot smaller, but the mortgage is manageable. She paused. Jake's paying half. I'm proud of him. I said, and meant it. Me too. Another pause, longer this time. Mary, I need to say something, and I need you to just listen, okay? Okay. I was wrong. Her voice shook. About the office, about expecting so much from you, about taking you for granted. I was wrong about all of it, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I closed my eyes. Thank you. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, or maybe ever, but I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, what I've been doing for years. Your Aunt Linda drove out here last week and she didn't hold back. She told me things your dad apparently said before he died, about how worried he was, about how he knew I relied on you too much. A tear rolled down my cheek. He was right. He was, and I hate that it took losing you to understand it. She took a shaky breath. Jake and I start family therapy next week. Together. The therapist wants to eventually have a session with you too, if you're willing. No pressure. Just, if you want to. I'll think about it. I said carefully. That's all I can ask. She was crying now. I could hear it. I love you, Mary. I know I haven't shown it well, but I do. I love you so much. I love you too, Mom. We hung up a few minutes later, and I sat there in my apartment, in my space, in my life, and I cried. Not because I was sad, not because I regretted leaving, because something broken was starting to heal. 2 months after I left, Jake came over for dinner. It was awkward at first. He stood in my doorway with a bottle of wine he'd clearly spent too much money on and an uncertain smile. Nice place, he said. Thanks. Come in. We ate pasta I'd made from scratch, Dad's recipe, and talked about small things. His job, my clients, the weather, safe topics. Finally, over dessert, he said, I moved out of Mom's new place last week. Got my own apartment. That's great, Jake. It's tiny. Like, hilariously tiny. And I'm eating a lot of ramen. He laughed, but it wasn't his old cocky laugh. It was something more genuine. I get it now. What you were doing all those years. I'm working 40 hours a week and I can barely afford my car insurance and groceries. And you were doing that plus paying for me plus helping Mom plus running your business. Yeah. I said simply. I was a selfish asshole. Yeah. I said again, but I smiled a little. I'm trying to be better. The business thing, the consulting company, I shut it down. It was never real anyway. I was just, I don't know, trying to feel important without actually doing anything important. That's very self-aware. Therapy's helping. He met my eyes. I'm really sorry, Mary, for all of it, for taking advantage, for the office, for not appreciating you, for being a burden instead of a brother. I appreciate that, I said. Can we? Is there a way back from this? Can we be siblings again? Real siblings? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I think so, I said finally. But it's different now. I'm different now. I'm not your safety net. I'm not going to save you from consequences or cover your bills or sacrifice myself for your comfort. I don't want you to, he said quickly. I just want a sister. Someone I can grab dinner with sometimes. Someone I can call when something good happens. Someone who's in my life because we want to be, not because you have to be. I'd like that, I said, and realized I meant it. He left around 9, and we hugged at the door, and it felt like maybe we could build something new from the wreckage of what we'd been. 6 months after I left, I had Sunday dinner with Mom and Jake at her new condo. It was small but bright, full of her plants and Dad's books and a feeling of something lighter than the old house had ever been. Jake showed up with takeout because none of us could be bothered to cook. We ate on mismatched plates and laughed at a story Mom told about her new neighbor's kid. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments of tension, still old patterns trying to reassert themselves. When Mom mentioned she needed a new computer and looked at me expectantly, I had to remind her that Jake could help her research options. When Jake complained about his car acting up, I had to resist the urge to offer to pay for repairs, but it was better. We were learning. Before I left, Mom hugged me at the door. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For leaving. For forcing us to grow up. for loving us enough to set boundaries. She pulled back and looked at me with clear eyes. You saved us by leaving, you know. All of us. Even yourself, driving home that night. Windows down. Music playing. I thought about the woman I'd been 6 months ago. Exhausted. Invisible. Drowning. And I thought about who I was now. Thriving in my business. Dating someone who respected my time and my boundaries. Living in a space that was entirely mine. Still a daughter. Still a sister. But finally, also just Mary. My phone buzzed at a red light. A text from Jake. Thanks for dinner. Also, your advice about that client proposal worked. I think I might actually be getting good at this job thing. I smiled and texted back. Proud of you. The light turned green, and I drove toward my apartment, toward my life, toward a future that was mine to build however I wanted. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is teach people they can't take you for granted. Sometimes you have to burn the old structure down to build something better from the ashes. It took me 33 years to learn that, but I learned it, and I would never, ever forget it again. Sometimes revenge isn't about making them suffer. It's about making them see. And sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply choosing yourself.